If you have an engineering degree, then Atlanta is the place to be. The website sparefoot.com rates the metro area #1 for engineering jobs. Employers like Coca-Cola and AT&T could always use the expertise, but some engineers have their own personal goals. After all, they are by default investigators, and they're wired to relentlessly seek out answers to the universe's deepest mysteries.
Is clean energy on a large scale truly achievable? The scientists and engineers at Atlanta-based Johnson Research and Development think so, and they believe their device, the J-TEC, is the key. Hydrogen circulates through 2 fuel cell stack assemblies. Heat, such as direct sunlight, comes in, and electricity goes out. Makers of the J-TEC say it can convert solar energy into electricity with twice the efficiency of current solar cells. Devoid of any moving parts, this is the little engine that could forever change the way we power our lives.
And propulsion seems to be the overarching theme of engineer Lonnie Johnson's life narrative. It would help him achieve far-reaching goals and become a very rich man along the way, as you'll see in today's Executive Profiles.
Let's get back to Mobile, shall we?
Okay.
I am sure that your handicraft work started at a very early age.
Yeah, I've always been interested in how things work, and as a small kid, I used to take toys apart, anything I could get, just to look inside because I wanted to know what was going on.
Did your father have the same DNA?
Yeah, in fact, whenever he was repairing something around the house, I was always right there with him to watch what he was doing. He'd work on his car. There's things, in fact, he gave me my first lesson in electronics and how to repair a light.
You go on to Tuskegee.
Right.
Get your degree.
Went to Tuskegee, got my bachelor's in mechanical engineering and then my master's in nuclear engineering.
And then you take a really interesting turn to the Strategic Air Command.
Went to the Air Force Weapons Laboratory in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and that's when I was introduced to interplanetary spacecraft. My first project actually was the Voyager project, where we were doing safety analysis. And then I left the military because I was curious. We had been looking at the Voyager system from a safety perspective. We were second-guessing the engineers who were designing the system and looking for things that could go wrong. I wanted to be on the other side of the fence to help design the spacecraft. And so at the JPL, I got the answer to that question. It was just a lot of hard work. Then I went back on active duty, back to Strategic Air Command headquarters in Omaha. That's when I went to SAC as an engineer.
You've had 2 different careers. I mean, the chapters are so different. And let's go to the second chapter and let's talk about, after you leave the military, and you become the entrepreneur inventor that you become.
I was continuing to tinker with my own ideas when I would go home at night. I actually got my first patent back in '79 when I was at the Air Force Weapons Laboratory. It was a digital distance measuring instrument. The idea was to use photosensors, rather, to read binary encoded information on a scale that had been photographically reduced. The idea of using lines and blanks or dark spaces as a way of encoding information optically into a machine, that's the base technology for DVDs and CDs.
Tell us about how you come up with the Super Soaker.
I decided to start working on a air conditioner that would use water instead of Freon because I thought, well, geez, what could be more environmentally friendly than water? And I came up with an idea of using a jet pump where you just use a high velocity stream of water to create a suction. And so I machined some nozzles and I started doing these experiments and just happened to turn and shoot the stream of water across the bathroom. And I thought, geez, this would make a really neat water gun. I had all these great ideas, but I wasn't getting any investors. So I thought to myself, geez, if I come up with a toy, something that anybody could look at and appreciate, I could probably sell that, get some revenues from it, and then I could go off and really pursue my habit. And it turned out, it actually did work. It only took about 2 weeks or so to actually build the first gun. I joke about being a nuclear engineer. I felt that I ought to be qualified to design a toy, a water gun, right? I actually went to a plastics injection molding company and started talking to the owner, and He gave me some estimates of what it would take to set up the manufacturing line, and that's when I realized clearly there were some things I didn't know. So I started looking for companies in the toy business to license the gun to, because I felt that the idea then was to learn what I didn't know.
When it succeeded and when it was time to kind of turn it over, that's like giving your baby away.
The Super Soaker I licensed to another company, Laramie, in '89. So it was a royalty kind of relationship, and it became successful in '92. So I had gotten the idea for the gun in '82, and it became the #1 selling gun in the country in '92. So it took 10 years to get there. Eventually, Hasbro acquired Laramie, and so now the relationship was with Hasbro. The only other toy gun product on the market that was significant was the Nerf dart guns. And so I said, well, geez, I would like to go after that as well. And so I decided to start designing Nerf guns, dart guns that outperform what Hasbro was already producing. And I came up with an entire line of Nerf dart guns. And so it was a deal where they were paying royalties on product that they sell. Now, I had learned a lesson on Super Soaker, because one of the things that Laramie had done because of the success of the water gun, and they started putting other product in the line. And of course, I wasn't receiving royalties on the other stuff. And I said, okay, lesson learned. So when I entered the deal with Hasbro on the dart guns, I said, okay, these guns are going to outperform the guns that you're producing now. Kids are going to be very excited about it, and they're going to start selling like crazy. What I want you to do is create a subcategory in Nerf, and anything that you put in that category, you'll have to pay royalties on it as well. And sure enough, they started to take off. The brand became hugely successful, and so they owed money on those other products that they were putting in there.
It's a thrill to meet someone who has your kind of a mind, and I hope the next generation of inventors really takes a page out of your book in terms of how far out you're willing to think through things.
That's very kind. I think making it a priority to learn what you don't know, I think, is really the key.
With the royalties coming in just from his toy licenses, Lonnie Johnson could likely retire and easily rest on his laurels. But the inventor in him will not stop. He spent years developing a lithium air battery he says can provide 10 times the energy of lithium batteries currently on the market. It would be a boon for the electric car industry. Mr. Johnson is seeking adequate funding to take that to scale. Straight ahead, as new companies come online and Fortune 500s relocate to Atlanta, office space is at a premium. We take stock of some of the area's largest office complexes, and we explore the amount of business local property and casualty companies claim. Don't go anywhere. Atlanta Business Chronicles Biz will return.